How you going? I'm Ryan. This is Ryan's Music Talk, and today I'm going to be ranking the 8 studio albums of Avenged Sevenfold, arguably one of the biggest metal bands of the entire 21st century, and also one of my favourites. So much so that I've even got a death bat tattoo. But let's not ramble on, and let's get into it. Number 8, Life is But a Dream. Their 8th album, released in June 2023. And I've tried to like this, but I don't. I really don't. It's too weird. There's too much going on. It's too proggy and avant-garde for my taste. It's just, yeah. There's nothing I really like about it. The vocals might be the worst performance since the debut, if not the worst they've ever sounded. The song Mattel is probably the only one that really sounds at all like Avenged Sevenfold, but even then, it's not great. Their opener is like this game over. It's like this chaotic thrash that turns into acoustic, and then it doesn't get any less weird after that. Like, it's just no, it's not an album. It's not an album I enjoy. The song Cosmic, I can't remember where it was in the track list, towards the back end, I think, sort of, but it's probably my favourite. Still quite proggy, but it was probably the easiest for me to sit through and enjoy. The whole album got way too fucking weird for me after that. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's just, yeah, not for me. Not for me. Number 7, sounding the seventh trumpet from one end of their career to the other. We've got their first album, released in July 2001. Basically a metalcore album, really, but very punk and hardcore influenced in the sounds. But M Shadow's vocals are very, very underdeveloped at this point compared to where he'd get to later on. It's not a bad album though. It's honestly, when I went back and listened to it for this, I realised I liked it a lot more than I remembered. But at the same time, it's quite a way off everything above it on this list. I think some of the highlights are Thick and Thin, which is like a really heavy punkish metalcore. Streets, which is basically just a straight punk song. And then there's the piano ballad Warmness on the Soul, all I think are real standouts on the album. There's also then probably the heaviest song on the album, An Epic of Time Wasted, is probably another highlight. But at the same time, there is still some tracks on this album that are quite hard to get through. The Art of Subconscious Illusions, We Come Out at Night, Lips of Deceit, I really don't enjoy any of them at all. But it's not a bad album. Number 6, The Stage, their 7th album, released in October 2016. It's mostly a prog metal album. It lacks catchiness across the whole album, really, which is a shame because in the albums before this, something I'd really loved from Avenged Sevenfold is how catchy some of the songs were. The opening track is the title track, The Stage, and it's probably also the best song on the album, in my opinion. But some other highlights are the more straight heavy metal song, Creating God. There's a very Pink Floyd sounding song, Roman Sky. I quite enjoy that. And then Goddamn and Simulation are very thrashy, sort of fun. But it's also obviously far from a perfect album to be down this low. The song Angels is so just slow and forgettable. And the closer Exist is 15 minutes long. And it is way, way too forgettable to be 15 minutes long. Number 5, Hail to the King. This is their 6th album, released in 2013, and it is their most straight-up traditional heavy metal album. The title track is a fucking banger. This Means War, I think, is fucking great. I absolutely love that, even though it probably is just a fucking rip off of Metallica's Sad But True. There's the Iron Maiden sounding Coming Home, which I also absolutely love. It does have forgettable songs though, like Doing Time and the power ballads Crimson Day and Acid Rain are also quite forgettable as well. Number four, Waking the Fallen, their second album released in August 2003. And this was just a massive improvement compared to their debut album. M Shadow's vocals had come such a long way. The songwriting had improved massively. It was also a much more ambitious album. The songs were longer in general. There's some absolute metalcore bangers on this, like Unholy Confession, Second Heartbeat, and Clairvoyant Disease. There's the epic power ballad, I Won't See You Tonight, Part 1, which probably has the album's best vocal performance. Uh, Part 2 is disappointing in comparison to Part 1, but still a decent metalcore track. It's just a fucking fun album, really. Like, other than maybe songs like Reminiscence and Desecrate Through Reverence, which I think are a bit forgettable, it's 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 really fucking good. Number three, City of Evil, their third studio album released in June 2005. And this, for a long time, was actually my favourite Avenged Sevenfold album. Obviously, it's not anymore. My thoughts have changed a little bit, but it's still an absolute fucking banger. It was a massive change in sound from the first two that dropped the metalcore, gone for a more traditional sort of heavy metal sound. Uh, Beast and the Harlot and Backcountry are just absolutely iconic bangers. Blind and Changed, Trashed and Scattered are very thrashy bangers. It's a lot. There's a lot of fun songs on this album. It's, again, more ambitious than the previous two. The songs are again longer than the previous two, but I think the most of the strength of the album is in the first half. I think it gets quite proggy and less entertaining in the back end of the album. Uh, Strength of the World's quite long and boring. Seize the Day's a dull power ballad. Does have a rather epic solo though, but even with all that said, it's still a fucking fantastic album. Number two, Nightmare. It's their fifth album released in July 2010. For the most part, it's just a heavy metal album, really. It's also probably got M Shadow's best vocal performance across their career. The title track and Buried Alive are a couple of absolute heavy metal fucking bangers. Natural Born Killer is more of a groove metal song. It fucking slaps though. God Hates Us is just thrashy fun with probably the most screams on a song since maybe Waking the Fallen era. So Far Away is a power ballad, really, really good power ballad that's used as a tribute to the Rev after he sadly died in the lead up to this album. Um, It'd probably nearly be number one if it wasn't weighed down by the last two songs. I think Fiction, the piano driven duet between M Shadows and the Rev, I fucking hate that song. It's just, I can't get through it. And Save Me is just way too uninteresting to be 11 minutes long, to be honest. Number one, Avenged Sevenfold. It's their fourth album, released in October 2007. It's a fucking great album. Fucking great. Following on from City of Evil, it's sort of gone for shorter, more catchier songs. M Shadow's vocals had improved almost. They're probably as good as they were a Nightmare, really. It's fucking phenomenal performance. But just so many great songs. You got Afterlife, which is like a thrashy, almost symphonic metal fucking banger. Um, then there's Almost Easy and Lost, basically thrash metal, fucking awesome. Gunslinger is like fucking, it's like country style metal. but and I don't like country music, but this is done so well. It's fucking awesome. Speaking of not liking country music, Dear God is basically a country style ballad with maybe M Shadow's best vocals performance on the album. Again, I actually really fucking dig it. But of course, there's also the weirdest, fucking batshit crazy masterpiece, A Little Piece of Heaven. I just, uh, yeah, I love this album. It's great. I fucking love it. All right, so now that I've done that, I'll go through my top 10 Avenged Sevenfold songs. At number 10, I've got Afterlife off Avenged Sevenfold. Number 9, Gunslinger, also off Avenged Sevenfold. Number 8, I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 off Waking the Fallen. Number 7, Bat Country off City of Evil. Number 6, This Means War of Hail to the King. Number 5, Beast and the Harlot of City of Evil. Number 4, Clairvoyant Disease of Waking the Fallen. Number 3, Nightmare of Nightmare. Number 2, Buried Alive of Nightmare. And number 1, A Little Piece of Heaven of Avenged Sevenfold. So there's my lists. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, give me your lists, tell me if you agree or disagree with what I've got. Before I go, I'd also just like to give a quick shout out to my best mate Josh Hamill. He's just dropped a new song. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I'd really like you to go check it out if you could. Yeah, I'll see you next time.